So we'll make an official start. Welcome. It's just you and me for the moment. There could be other people coming, as I said. Welcome to anyone who's watching on YouTube or through the synagogue website. So we're talking about leading services. The idea of becoming as comfortable and familiar as we can with the prayers of Shabbat, so that we can lead, and participants in the class can actually lead services. There's opportunities in Min Chadash, in the main sanctuary, community development, taking part, and also finding a kiruv, a kind of a closeness with the service, and hopefully then through God as well. So the plan for tonight is for us to, there's going to be some discussion, and I'll explain sort of where I'm coming from with this, why it's a passion of mine and so forth. For anyone who's interested, how I came about this. I had been singing in my synagogue choir since I was 5 years old. And later in life, when I was leading services in every synagogue that I could, and when I wasn't leading services, I felt like I was missing something. So it was a calling, it was a passion. Eventually my wife said, well, why don't you go become a professional and do this, earn us some money and learn and, do it properly. So I did. I called on a longtime friend and mentor, cantor Stephen Robbins, who's emeritus at Woodside Park Synagogue.
My abject apologies. I'm so sorry.
Okay. That's all right.
It's not.
Have a seat. We're just getting started, so it's good. And I'm recording, so you know.
Angela.
Yes.
That's Aaron.
Yes, I thought.
So as I was saying, I learned with this teacher, but it was like the old style, master to student, and I didn't just watch the wires, please. I don't want to disconnect anything or pull anything off pull my phone off the thing. So it was master to student. There were opportunities to work in a class setting, but it really was mostly one-on-one. And in fact, I learned mostly by webcam, because I lived in the States and my teacher was in London. And I didn't have the benefit of knowing Nusach. I had a sense from the time I was 5 years old of what exactly the cantor was doing and all the different things that different cantors did or the same cantor did. But I didn't really learn by, like we did in the previous weeks, going through this, packet of stuff saying, here's a beginning, here's a middle, here's an end, and mix them, match them, and do that. I learned, he sang me a piece. He said we were going to work on page 153, and it's these three prayers, and here it is. And he sang to me in the early days of webcam, instant messenger, and I had a tape recorder that I put in front of the speaker. And with all its crackles and all its dropouts and all that sort of stuff, I recorded what he sang. And I would take the next couple of days before our next lesson and listen and transcribe every note, every twiddle, every nuance, and note every explanation he had for why he was, because he told me why he was doing certain things, and I'll do that as well. And I, through that process of transcribing it, I really learned it very intimately. And then the next lesson, I would sit down and I would sing to him. And I was just telling Aaron, he says, that's great, now do it differently. And that's when I learned Nusach. Not from the book. That I learned differently. I learned how to do it differently by trusting in myself to improvise within the genre, within the set of notes. The set of notes specifically that we've talked about over the past few weeks.
So when he said do it differently,
yeah,
he didn't mean you're making a mistake.
Correct. He said that's excellent. You nailed it exactly as I do it.
But now you can be free.
But if you do that every week, your congregation is going to be bored out of their mind after a month. Or after 2 months, whatever it is. Yeah. There's a balance, because familiarity is very, very important. And in fact, we're going to be working on the concept of familiarity rather than on improvisation. So I'm not looking to make everyone in this class into a cantor. The goal is to be able to do a nice, simple service that fits within the rules of the musical, the Nusach. Nusach is the musical notes, as we talked about. There is, on the synagogue website, a page, I'll just
pray with us.
Yes, it's under, exactly. So if you can see here, I'll just, for your benefit, and I'll say it out loud here. Under Pray With Us, learn traditional nusach, and you can, oops, hard to do this upside down. You can click on Musaf for regular Shabbat, and that's the way we do it here at New London Synagogue with the heiche kedusha. That's our custom. There's rare opportunities that we do full repetition, particularly like when the choir sings, or if it's a holiday and we have duchening, we'll do a full repetition. So I just wanted to make you aware, yep, thank you, good catch, that on this page, not a touchscreen, you get used to that, really. I mean, that's all the different parts that we're going to be learning are here, and this is the goal for I would say our first 3, maybe 4 weeks. And what we're going to be doing is literally...
Our goal is Musaf.
Our goal is Musaf, to be able to do a full Musaf service with a heiche kedusha. I've copied the pages from the Sim Shalom Siddur, which is the book that we use in Minyan Chadash. So, Angela, if you want to take one of those as well, you can use that, or you can bring a Sim Shalom if you have it. It's the blue one. I don't see a copy here, but there.
Well, there's one.
Yes.
There's one with the notes, which is called something else.
Yes, it's
Or
Chadash with the on the Sim Shalom.
It's the same. The
That's,
pagination's the same, but it has notes.
Reuven Hammer's commentary on it.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically, what we're going to, I think I'm done with this for now. But basically, these are links to audio files, and thank you again. And you click on it, and it will play you with.
The Musaf service starts on page 432 with the Chatzi Kaddish prior to the Amida.
It will normally. So it's got the audio file there, and the slider on your home computer will work better than this one. This computer has issues, but it slides along just like the good old days of tape, bar mitzvah studies with the tape recorder. You can drag that slider back, listen to anything again, practice along with it. So the goal is for this class is for me, not necessarily in this class to have us brilliantly doing a Musaf service. The goal is to get familiar with it enough and work out any glitches that we discover along the way so that you can go home and listen to the audio files and practice it. And literally the technique is 3 steps. Listen to it 1,000,000 times, always with the siddur or the handout in front of you. The more you do step 1, listen, the easier step 2 becomes, which is singing along with it, with the sheet in front of you, always with the sheet in front of you. The more you do step 2, singing along with it, the easier step 3 becomes, which is singing without the audio file. That's the whole goal. So really, the homework happens at home, and this is an opportunity for us to ask questions, explore what I call margin notes, the stuff that I would write into my siddur to, when I was first learning, to remind me I should sing it this way because of the meaning of the word, or or remember to switch because it's Rosh Chodesh, or whatever it is. So this is that opportunity for that discussion. And then the next class that we meet, we will, as a group, I think it's a great way to learn as best possible, given our different voice types, to sing it all together. And this is exactly what I do with bar mitzvah students, and it's also exactly what I do with the cheder kids. When we do tefillah, that's what we do. I've taught them the prayers by nothing more than repetition with the siddur in front of us, and they catch on over weeks and weeks, but we'll do it over the course of a week for the assigned amount of material, and then we should be able to sing it back. You may be familiar with some of this stuff already, so some of this will be a review. What I wanted to do was start with a little bit of a review of the nusach. So these are the summaries from each of the chapters we studied in the first 3 sessions. The Musaf, I'll just hone in for now. We'll come back to this when we need to. The nusach of the beginning of the Musaf service, do you get that? The nusach of Musaf, okay, is in the major. It's uplifting, it's major, it's the Hashem Malach mode. So if you turn to page 48 of the packet, it's the one that goes, in fact, you can see it right here, it's the opening, Kabbalat Shabbat. It refers to Kabbalat Shabbat, but it's ya-da-da-da-da-da-da in the beginning of the Musaf Amida, Baruch Atah Adonai. So it's within that range, not exactly as written for Kabbalat Shabbat, but actually here they've separated out. Remember we talked about avot. If you look at the bottom of the page, here it is. ya da da da, ya da 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 da.
Sorry, Jason.
Right here?
I didn't seem to. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is Hashem Malach, as it says at the top, or Adonai Malach. And the avot mode consists of ya da 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 da, Baruch atah Adonai, and a pre-concluding phrase of da da da, da 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 da, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, right? And a concluding phrase of ya da 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 da, Magen Avraham. Okay, so that's our basic mode for the Musaf service until we get to the Kedusha. Kedusha is going to change to Ahava Rabbah. Okay, so we're going to put that on the side for now. We'll cover Ahava Rabbah when we talk about it.
Why? Oh, maybe.
Because we switched to Naritzecha V'Naktishecha
But why does it change? Why does that paragraph of the Amida change?
Only because so basically to separate out the avot and the gevurot from kedusha.
Okay.
The
Kedusha
Ahava
so
Rabbah
special,
mode,
yeah.
yes, Ahava Rabbah mode is very special and deals with a lot of kedusha. The angels kedusha is in Ahava Rabbah, leading into the Shema. The incredible holy nature of the Shema is in Ahava Rabbah, and so we come back to that from the kedusha through the end of the Amida. Of course, we can have congregational or melodies, like I like to call them, and those can be inserted. Those aren't nusach, but they're actually very important in the service. They lend familiarity. They lend participation opportunities and joining in, and very important. So we're going to talk about that as well. So that's good. The two things that we'll start with are the Chatzi Kaddish, which is Chatzi Kaddish always bookmarks a section. It begins a section of prayer. In this case, Musaf. The Chatzi Kaddish, as its name implies, is a half Kaddish. It only goes up to the end of the second full paragraph, whereas full Kaddish you'd also have heiche Lama Rabbah and Tidkabal Tzalotzahon and Oseh Shalom Bimromav. So those sections are saved for the end of the Musaf, which we will get to eventually. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to sing through the first section. Actually, I'm going to sing through the whole thing. It will give us a basic familiarity and sort of hone us in on the mode and so forth. Then we'll break it down and do repeat after me, phrase by phrase, which is going to be very mechanical and somewhat dry. I'll try and spice it up as we go along. The idea is to at least repeat it back and make sure that we're on the same page. And then we'll move on to the next repeat after me phrase. Getting through the whole thing should give you enough background to then take it home, listen to the audio file, and learn it the way it is there. Okay. So the first thing to do is make sure that we're in a good, comfortable key. So if I went Yitgadal, can we do that together? Yitgadal. Good. Again, I'm not going to be talking so much about the meanings of the prayers, and we've done some of that in the Nusach talks, and there's other opportunities. But that's great. That's a good key, and I think that's the key that I've got the recordings in. So it goes like this: Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Let's do that together. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Can you do the end of dal again?
Yitgadal. Well, so Yitgadal. That's even fancier than you need to do.
Oh, okay.
Yitgadal. You wouldn't necessarily go Yitgadal, because that's a different thing.
Plain, yeah.
Okay? Yitgadal is fine. Mm-hmm. You could do Yitgadal. I'm not looking for a cantorial recitative, so don't worry too much about it. Good. Ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. We did that. Let's go on. Be'alema. I'm going to say the whole thing. Be'alema divera chirutei. This siddur says kirutei.
It does, doesn't it?
Ve'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon. Uvchayedecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv. Ve'imru amen. The congregation would say, Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach. Le'alam v'lo me'amaya. Yitbarach. That's a very plain version. There are more melodic versions of that you hear in the United States, Canada. Heiche rabba mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya itbarach. Sometimes you hear it here, once in a while. Okay, then you would go on, picking up that same motif as at the beginning. Yitbarach or Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. Veit hadar, veit ale, veit halal, shemei de kudesha, berichu. The congregation would say berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata, veshirata, tushbechata, venechemata, da'amiran be'alema, ve'imru, amen. So that's the whole thing. Notice that I'm being very meticulous, very medactic about the pronunciation. And I very much favor modern Israeli, essentially modern Israeli pronunciation of the words. Accents generally on the last syllable, unless there's a meteg, a little line showing you where the syllable is if it's not on the last syllable, usually it's an ultimate syllable. Accentuating the differences between words, like vayit ale, vayit halal. I took my time to overpronounce that ayin and the hey, so that the words don't sound mushed or careless, because they mean different things. They should have their own pronunciation. So when you hear that kind of slow down and meticulous pronunciation, you should do that too. It would serve you well to learn that from the beginning. Learn it that way from the beginning. Good. So let's go back to the beginning. Hi.
Do you know anything about a meeting tonight?
A meeting?
7:30.
No, I don't know. Sorry.
They are.
There's a class at 8,
Club at 8.
but I don't know about a meeting at 7:30.
I'm not aware
Or
of it.
maybe it's a club. I'm supposed to open the hall, but the door between the two doesn't open. Is that the way it's going to be?
I don't know.
Or, yeah,
If it doesn't open, I guess just open the other half of the half that is open.
I'm going to open the other side.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, going back to the beginning, let's do a repeat after me. Yitkadal veyitkadash shemei rabbah. Yitkadal veyitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alema divarach chirutei. Be'alema divarach chirutei. Ve'yamlich malchutei. Ve'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon. B'chayechon uvyomechon. Uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv. Ba'agala uvizman kariv. Ve'imru amen. Good. And you should sing along with the congregation. Heiche rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei amaya yitbarach. So let's do that again. Heiche rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei amaya yitbarach. And anything close to that is acceptable. The congregation is doing a whole bunch of versions of that, so it's fine. So going on. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach. Ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. Ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. Ve'yithadar ve'yit'ale ve'yithalal. Ve'yithadar ve'yit'ale ve'yithalal. Good. Shemei de kudesha berichu. Shemei de kudesha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata. Le'ela min kol birchata. Veshirata. Veshirata. Tushbechata venechemata. Tushbechata venechemata. Da'amiran be'alema ve'imru amen. Da'amiran be'alema ve'imru amen. Good, now, so that's an ending, right? That's a cadence. So actually, a couple of things to think about here, and feel free to make notes in these. These are yours to keep. The ending of this is going into the Amida, right? Either a silent Amida, or in our case, usually an out loud repetition, as it were, of the Amida. And so you would sing the ending of this in a way that shows which one of those we're going to do. So if I went Da'amiran be'alema ve'imeru amen, what do you think is going to happen?
Silent Amida.
Silent Amida. And you're telling the congregation without even opening your mouth.
Oh, wow.
In fact, you're more or less closing it. And you're telling the congregation what they should be doing without saying anything. It's a very spiritual way of leading a congregation. So in our case, in general, we won't be going quiet like that. So specifically, don't go quiet. Okay, so specifically, but do slow it down. Da'amiran be'alema ve'imeru amen. That gives you an opportunity to then do some choreography, which we have to do on the next page. It's the tradition at New London Synagogue to do, in the Sim Shalom Siddur, the A page, still the non-egalitarian page. That's for now anyway. So this is the avot, not with imahot. We have some choreography. Choreography is dance moves, just like it is on the stage. Bending and bowing. Sometimes it's just bowing. Sometimes it's rising on our tippy toes. Various actions that we have to do. So before we start the Amida, whether it's silent or aloud, we have to take 3 small steps backwards. On the bima and the main shul, there isn't a lot of room for that, so small steps. And 3 small steps forward. And this actually isn't written in, so if you don't know that already, you should write it in. And the idea is that we're approaching God like we would approach royalty, or like I guess we would approach God, coming forward with a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of caution. And so we take those 3 steps forward and we say the line, Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi yagib tehilatecha. We say that under our breath. It's a private prayer. The Sim Shalom adds in another line before that, Ki Shem Adonai Yikra, Havu Kodel Le'Eloheinu. It doesn't get used. It's not traditional in that sense. So 3 steps forward, we plant our feet side by side, touching each other, or at the very least, no more than shoulder width apart, and they stay like that for the entire Musaf service. Okay. There are moments where we go up on our toes or bend and bow, but our feet stay planted together, representing the angels and their pedestal, not feet. Yeah, you were going to ask a question, Angela?
Yes, it was about. I've heard.
Yep.
And that's not. But you said it should be under the breath.
Well, generally it's under the breath because it's a private prayer, right?
Yeah.
You're about to say the Amida aloud as the Chazan, or as in your private Amida, but either way, you are asking God. You're saying God.
Yeah.
Sifatai
Is me.
me, and so it doesn't make sense
to sing it aloud.
That said, though, it is an opportunity for congregational participation, and the opportunity for everyone to feel that spirituality together.
Yeah.
So, Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Some people do it twice.
Yeah.
It's not on the recording. It's not on the web page, but it's now on the YouTube video, so you can access it through that. So then, assuming we're doing this out loud Amida, we have the bend in the bow at the beginning of this. Baruch, we bend the knees. I'll just demonstrate. So we bend just the knees, not crouch down or anything like that. Just the knees, keeping the rest of our back straight. Baruch, and then we resolve that, losing the bend and replacing it with the bow. So Baruch Atah, and always upright for Adonai. Adonai, always. Closest to God is upright, okay? So, that said, we have this. Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. And another bend and bow. Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham. Now, within that, there's all kinds of variations that could take place, but that's the basic, a very straightforward representation of it. Obviously, you see, we skipped the line that's Zochreinu L'Chayim, that's for Shabbat Shuvah only, the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The endings, the middle verses, they can all be done with some sort of variation once you are comfortable with the basics. So, for example, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. Remember we talked about patterns of notes, either ascending or descending. Those allude to lists, and that's exactly what we have here. Well, actually, no, this one isn't such a list, but it is part of a list of things. Zocher chasdei avot and umevi goel livnei bneihem and leman shel be'ara. So we have these opportunities to build up to things, and sometimes we build away from things. So that's an opportunity for you. But the audio file on the computer, on the website, I can't remember which one it does. It doesn't matter. You can learn one or the other. You can use the video or the audio. Either is fine. So let's do some repeat after me. And I always like to do the choreography all the time together. So let's stand up. That way we never forget to do it. All right. So repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai. And repeat after me. Baruch
atah Adonai
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov ve'Elohei Yaakov Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei Hakol Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi goel livnei v'neihem Umevi goel livnei v'neihem Lema'an shemo be'ahava Lema'an shemo be'ahava. That ahava is a special word. It means with love, right? Be'ahava. Take your time on that word. Yeah, a little bit of word painting. Going on with melech ozer, this is our intermediate phrase. Melech ozer umoshia umagen. Melech ozer umoshia umagen. See, I did it differently the first and second time. That's called Musaf. Baruch atah Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai. Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham. Now, let's have a seat. That's fantastic. So, another little bit of word painting that I did in there that I didn't explain. Ha'el Hagadol. Ha'el is the God, or the one. El is the almighty name of God. Ha'el Hagadol, the great. Hagibor, the powerful or strong, right? V'hanora, and awesome. Like, not awesome, dude. Right? But okay. Well, God is awesome that way too. But so this is a building up as well, and we have those notes. Dum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. But we also have these words. Hagadol should be sung with greatness, as should Gibor. But Hanora, it should be some kind of like trembling, or delicateness that goes with that. So Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'hanora. And now El Elyon, God on high. El Elyon, it's the highest part, or El Elyon, it's the highest part of that musical passage. So I'm just alluding to why we do that like that. So when you hear that going up and getting loud on Hagadol and Hagibor, quiet on Hanora, that's why. And you can incorporate that into your own davening of it. Okay, then the next line, Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem. The custom here at New London Synagogue is to only say that at the time of the year. Sorry, the custom is always to say it at the time of the year that's appropriate. At New London, we don't switch to Morid Hatal at the other times of the year. We just omit it. There is a custom to say Morid Hatal. In fact, in the Sephardic custom, you say Mashiv Haruach Morid Hatal at between Pesach and Shmini Atzeret. So from Shmini Atzeret to Pesach, which is not the time we're in right now, we would say Mashiv Haruach, and it would go just part of the. Did we do Atah Gibor? We didn't.
Yes.
No.
Atah Gibor leolam Adonai mechaye metim Atah Rav lehoshia Atah. Puzzle form. Right? When we talk about puzzle form, the accent gets moved to the penultimate syllable. It's not Atah, but Atah. Atah, not the first one of the line, the third to last word. Atah Gibor leolam Adonai. Let's do that. Atah Gibor leolam Adonai mechaye metim Atah mechaye metim Atah Rav lehoshia Rav lehoshia. I realize, Angela, this is right in smack dab in the middle of your...
I keep going.
I know,
keep
I'm sorry.
And it's fine.
You're doing great, by the way. And anyone who is also struggling with that, I can make other recordings that are in your range, up higher
He
or
does a
lower.
great falsetto.
Baruch atah Adonai. All right, that's how I teach some of the students. So it's it's a possibility. But you're doing great. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So that leads us into Mashiva Ruach or not. In this case, at this time of the year, not. But at the time of the year that you may be watching this video or practicing to do Musaf service, it may be in there. And we just do it in the same mode. Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem. And go ahead. Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem. Good. Mechalkel Chayim, for Musaf, it's almost always preferable, certainly the custom at New London Synagogue, to do the congregational melody. Mechalkel Chayim bechesed, mechaye meitim berachamim rabim, somech nofelim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, Kayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha bal gevurot umidom elach melech memit umchaye umatzmiach Yeshua. Now the thing that drives me crazy about that is we go lishenei afar, which means
You're in the wrong
going
place.
down into the dust.
Yeah, no.
So we're going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But a composition is a composition, and in certain circumstances you would be hard pressed to change it. Lishenei afar. I mean, yeah, actually that's not bad.
Actually.
Try.
I might try that one out actually.
Try it.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
It's very good.
My apologies to, I can't remember who composed this, but anyway, there you have it. I don't think we need to do repeat after me for that one because you both sang along that one beautifully. Not surprising that the congregational melodies that we all sing week after week we're familiar with, so no problem there. Okay, so the next line, Mi Chamocha Avrachamim, is just for Shabbat Shuvah, just for the Aseret to make Shuvah between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And so then we go on with Ve'ne'eman. Ve'ne'eman ata lahachayot meitim. Take your time on these words, because otherwise lahachayot. Lahachayot. We also don't want lachachayot. Lehachayot. Ve'ne'eman ata lehachayot meitim. This is not a bend and a bow. Baruch atah Adonai Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaMeitim, or Mechayei HaMeitim, whatever you like, as long as it's Yam Badadam. That is different than we'll see in Shacharit when we go Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaMeitim. It's different. It's a different Kedusha. It's still holy that we're going into here versus in Shacharit. But we make that distinction to keep the services looking slightly different and allude to the fact it's a different Kedusha. So, Mechayei HaMeitim. Good. When you're doing an out loud Amida, as we are now in the heiche Kedusha, you don't say the Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh paragraph. That is just for silent repetition, and you would say it when you go back and do the silent repetition after you've done your out loud Amida, or if it was the silent Amida, you would say that there. What it is it's the replacement for the L'Dor Vador paragraph, which finishes El HaKadosh as well. If you flip over 2 pages to 157, you see you've got the idea of the holiness of God in the L'Dor Vador paragraph, the very last paragraph on the page. So we put the L'Dor Vador in the Kedusha. When the Kedusha is not being said, which is any silent Amida, you do that paragraph on the previous page silently. Okay. So there's never an out loud of that, just to be clear. Good, so now we have, by going yada da 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 da, that is a pivot into Ahava Rabbah. So let's go back to our Ahava Rabbah.
Yes, I was going to ask what's coming next.
Yeah, and what's coming next is Ahava Rabbah. So it's on page 26, it's the second page in. So Ahava Rabbah, to stay in the same key, although it's using D as a tonal center, we have yada and yada da 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 and yada da yada da 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 and yada da da, right? That's one possible set of opening, intermediate, and pre-concluding, including. Or we have yada da da as an opening, or yada da da. We're not going to get into much of that because we're not doing the full repetition. It's the middle paragraphs of the Amida that would use this one and the next one, which is yada da 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 da, or yada da 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 da. Okay? So essentially, and remember the last one, yada, is going to be used for a pivot to up a fourth, which we will see in very early on in the Kedusha. We can use that. So that's all the possible openings that we could have. We also have yada da 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 yada yada da da. That's a pre-concluding and a concluding. And so we might see any of those along the way. That's just to remind you that the flavor of Ahava Rabbah has that raised third and the flattened second. So it's yada da 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 da, and we get that yada da 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 that comes back to remind us. And we're going to see that throughout the Kedusha. So we're on page 157 in the Sim Shalom, and we have Na'aritzecha.
Sorry, Jason, do
Yeah.
you sort of make a decision beforehand when you go through the service of maybe openings, or kind of is it based on thing, or do you just go for it at the moment?
I just go for it at the moment, but not
Okay.
but only because I practiced all kinds of openings and all kinds of middles and all kinds of closes. That's a great question. For me, it's now second nature. It may not be second nature to you your first time. So my best advice is prepare as much as you can in advance. So, and actually, this is a concept I was going to make mention of. Yeah, I even wrote it down on my first page. Prepare in advance, don't think. You want to be able to approach the service ready to go and not worried about what am I going to do. Learn it one way, do it that way for now. Okay.
Yeah, that's good advice.
And that is the way that congregants should take turns doing this.
Yeah.
Because every congregant is going to do it slightly differently anyway, and there's great beauty in that. So, good question. Using our 1-5 opening, I'm going to make it a little bit lower so that you can
No,
get
it's
the
all right.
higher part.
Then you just do. You go comfortable, and I'll
Fine.
fit in, or I'll drop.
Okay.
Don't worry.
נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש, קודש holy. המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר. זה אל זה ואמר, the angels said one to the other. So you do the motions. So there's some choreography there. Ze, you bow left. El ze, you bow right, and ve'amar.
So it's left first.
Left first. There's only one time when you go right first. It's Birkat Kohanim. All the Kaddishes.
Is there a pen somewhere?
Yes, there's one right over there on the desk. I could see it.
Okay.
So let's do some repeat after me on that, and we'll do the choreography as well. Na'aritzecha v'naktishecha, na'aritzecha v'naktishecha, kesod siach sarfei kodesh, kesod siach sarfei kodesh, hamaktishim shimcha ba'kodesh, hamaktishim shimcha ba'kodesh. Any number of ways to do that. Kakatuv al yad neviecha, kakatuv al yad neviecha, v'kara ze el ze ve'amar, v'kara ze el ze ve'amar. Actually, just to put the accent in the right place, it would be v'kara ze ve'kara. Okay, so sometimes I may get that wrong because force of habit or just lack of forethought there. See, I like to not think. I like to prepare in advance, right? V'kara ze el ze ve'amar. So that's pausal. We're going up. We're not going ze el ze ve'amar. That would be very final. Endol. It's good. Yes, it's a good word. And the reason for that is because we're encouraging the congregation to then do their part, which is to say, Kadosh, 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 in whatever tune they're going to choose to do that. Hopefully it'll be something like Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch Chol Haaretz Kevodo. Now choreography there.
But you could lead them, or you don't. You could
So there's
indicate to them which, so
Yes.
they're not all over the place.
So there's two ways to do this. One of them lets them do what they're going to do, which is somewhat more traditional. The other is to lead them through the entire Kedusha with you and just take them along for the journey, right? So first of all, to say that Kadosh, 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 each of those Kadoshes you go up on your tippy toes, and there's some have a tradition of going a little bit up on tippy toes,
Then
the first
more,
one,
then more.
a little more and a little more. I don't really do that. It's all holy to me, so I just just go up as high as I can. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. If I can do that sitting down, it means my posture's not good, so you get the point. Kadosh, 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 and sing it with holiness, right? Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch Chol Haaretz, Meloch Chol Haaretz, Kevodo, Kevodo. And that's your Ahava Rabbah right there. Yada, yada. Good. So you can either lead them in that, don't stop and let them go. So what would that look like? V'kara ze el ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch Chol Haaretz Kevodo. Good. Going on.
So you sort of crescendo into that to push them forward into it.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. When you say crescendo, yes, you're showing by getting louder or by getting firmer, I guess is one way of looking at it. You're showing the congregation the steady beat. You're showing the congregation that perhaps it's time for them to sing along. But just crescendoing alone doesn't necessarily say to the congregation it's time to join in. It might have that effect. With Kedusha, there should be a congregational awareness that it's the congregation's turn. You may find yourself in a setting where the congregation isn't that versed in it, or a very, I've been to small communities where the congregation is very interfaith, or there's a lot of people who are newly Jewish, and they don't have this familiarity, or maybe come from other traditions, where you don't get the participation, they just don't know, and sometimes going like this can actually move them along with you. So it's an interesting concept, but at the very least, sing it confidently. If it's something that the congregation can sing along with, they will. That's the kind of thing. So, כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. I've colored that a little bit with pre-concluding phrases that are a little bit more elaborate, but that's fine. I think I recorded them that way on the website. So, כבודו מלא עולם, כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו, איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם, לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך יאמרו. Good, and then either go on or let them say first. Baruch kivod Adonai mimekomo, with the shvana, right? Mimekomo, Baruch kivod Adonai mimekomo. In our congregation, even when we're giving the congregation a chance to say it before we do, we would just come back and repeat it. But our congregation doesn't then do under their breath kivodo male olam. There are congregations who will. For example, you'll finish kivodo. You'll finish Baruch Yomeru. The congregation could say Baruch Kivod Adonai Mimkomo Mimkomo Hifan Barachamim Yachonam Yacharim Shema Vechayam Tamid V'mayim Be'ava Shema Omerim, and then you would do that whole 2 sections again. Baruch Kivod Adonai. That's not our custom here, so don't wait for it. Okay, so essentially, very nicely in tune with the Sim Shalom, the congregation generally will say the bold lines on their own. Okay?
They say the bold lines on their own.
And that's all on their own. Unless you do a congregational melody or whatever.
Is there any time where you go back and repeat that with them?
So the 2 choices are